I have all this leftover Halloween fabric, and I have a big sheet of fleece that's left over from decorating my car. So I'm gonna try and make a quilt for the first time. Yep. Halloween scissors, baby. I completely forgot that I was recording this process because I'm so obsessed with it that I'm working on it like 2 minutes before I have to leave for work. But this is what I have so far for the bottom row. It's so cute. So I'm on patch number 4. I need to do 9. And then I'm gonna sew the 9 rows together and then sew those together instead of doing it like one patch here, then because that seems like it's complicated. So what I'm doing here is I stack them all up in a stack from the bottom, like in the rows like that. It's all in a big stack. So what I'm doing is 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm putting it the right side together on top of the patch that I just sewed. And so they're like this, you see? And then I'm sewing it with a straight stitch. Also, I'm working on trying to finish my Splatoon cosplay in like one day, which I cannot do. But I'm trying to finish it before Splatoon 3 comes out. So I'm working on this little like table tray, TV tray, what do you call this? It, you know, it folds up and it's just a little tiny table. And I'm not sewing them that much with that much seam allowance because I only cut them to be the actual size that I wanted them to be. So that was my bad. But some of them I did cut with seam allowance and some of them I didn't. So I'm just doing like a 1/4 inch seam allowance at the very most. But it's really more of like an 1/8 of an inch. And I'm just sewing it straight like that. Cutting it right there. And cutting it at the top. Just try to keep up with this, because otherwise there's going to be a ton of strings I have to cut. And then this is what we're looking at. You see, so I'm gonna finish up this row probably before I go to work. Okay. Alright, so this is what the first row finished looks like. And I'm just gonna, I guess, I don't know, fold it up. Because I think, yeah, it's gonna be much easier to just sew all the 9 rows of them. And then sew the rows together along the top, you know, and top and bottom edges. And then so I have a big square, or yeah, a big square, and then I can sew that to the fleece. And what I'm gonna do, instead of making the fleece a border, because I don't want the seams to be, I don't want there to be seams in it messing up the soft texture of the fleece, is I'm going to put, like, sew them right sides together and then leave a little hole in it and flip the whole thing inside out, and then do like a top stitch where you fold the 2 things together, like what you do to finish off these. Let me see if I can find it on here. Yeah, you can see it right here. You fold in these 2 edges, and then you basically can't tell where the thing is. You can't on this one because I fucked it up. Can you tell on this one? You can also kind of tell on this one, but you can't tell on the one side, just on, you know. So I'm gonna do it, but since I'll have a bigger area, it should be easier to make it not fuck up like I did with those, because that only has like a tiny seam allowance. And I'm gonna be late for work, so yeah. Alright, so it doesn't seem that I updated, because when I was finishing this, I was kind of crazily finishing it, and I was like, I just want to get this done, and I want to get it done right now, like after I got home from work at like 6 a.m. So that's what I did, like a checkerboard kind of thing, but it ended up getting like the first 2 rows good, then the 3rd row pretty good, and then it just starts getting kind of more of a brick pattern, but that's okay. And so also, some of them just got cut too short, and I don't really know how I did that, but I just used little border pieces of like leftover from other squares of fabric, because as you see, it's not like the same amount of squares of each one, because some of them I had more fabric for than others. But yeah, I would just sew these together, which you actually see in that last clip, you know, the same way, front sides together, so that is a square, and then sew that whole square to the next one. And also, because of how small my seam allowance was, there's a lot of places where you can kind of see right through it. And then, so, as that's what I was talking about when I didn't want the seams visible, so it's just kind of folded together like that, because it's sewed the exact same way that these are sewed together. And then, except at the very end, where you can see, okay, yeah, it's right here, so you can see these seams right here, because this is where I flipped it inside out, but they're not super visible, so that's good. And there's another one of those mismatch things. And I think there's another one where it's the pumpkin fabric, but I don't see that one right now. I might have not ended up having to use that one. That's the finished quilt. I really love it. That's what it looks like. You can't really tell that the pattern gets off kilter when you're looking at the big picture as much. But yeah, so I went with like a candy corn checkerboard type thing. And then you can see all the different ones. So there it is.